Amazing people, I welcome you in this great channel. If it's your first time and you like what I do here, please do not hesitate to subscribe and put your notification bell so that you'll be able to know when I upload a new video. I present to you information across the globe, especially what is happening in Nigeria. I appreciate your massive support. Please, after watching, if you like what you watch, subscribe, put on your notification bell so that you'll be able to know when I upload a new video. The way I present the news, I analyze it first because sometimes I hear a lot of you saying you talk too much. At least I need to introduce the video so that you will have an insight of what you are about to watch. Then later we'll sit down there, we'll watch the video together, we'll go to the comment section. As we all are entitled to our opinion, we'll drop our opinion or whatever we think about the video and reach to the conclusion as we watch this video together now.
Security crisis, terrorism, kidnappings, intercommunal violence dramatically on the rise in recent months. Has President Buhari lost control?
Certainly not. He has not lost control. He has done a lot in terms of security. When he came into office in 2015, Boko Haram in the northeast was holding about 18 local government areas. Today, it doesn't hold a single local government area. However, it does not mean that the violence being unleashed by a Boko Haram, for instance, has ended. So it hasn't. They continue to move and strike and run away. It's a very difficult terrain. So it's not surprising that it has stretched out, as indeed such conflicts stretch out in other countries.
But Mr. Ambassador, when you look at the sheer numbers, though, the situation does not appear to be improving. In fact, in the first 3 months of this past year, it's been reported more than 2,800 violent killings around the country in the media. And there's also, of course, the repeated kidnappings of school children. I mean, this is what really has been making international headlines. In May, for example, more than 130 school kids, some as young as 7 years old, were kidnapped in broad daylight in Niger State. What do you tell those parents?
This is, of course, most unfortunate. It's tragic. It is not what we're hoping for. The government is doing its best to bring this to an end. It's not been easy because of decades of melees in Nigeria that this administration is looking to correct. The negative media reports sometimes also fuel these acts of violence, the kidnapping, the terrorism.
So it's the media's fault. It's the media's fault that there's an estimated 700 students kidnapped for ransom since December in your country?
That's not what I'm saying. Certainly not. It's not the media's fault, but it has further fueled some of the violence, as we've seen of recent. You have to bear in mind that Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. It's a nation of 200 million people. So certainly there would be acts of violence. There would be all sorts of issues, particularly since we have endured years of underdevelopment, which this administration is looking to reverse.
You mentioned that the government is taking action. I want to look at some of that action because the Senate is considering making it illegal to pay ransom to kidnappers. Is that the government's plan to punish the victims, the parents, in the face of the government's own inability to provide security for their children?
Well, you see, Nigeria practices a democratic system of government. You have the principle of separation of power. You have an executive arm, a legislative arm, an independent judiciary, a bicameral legislature. So it's not every single action that that should be attributed to either the president or the executive arm. You know, it has several moving parts. It has several clogs in the democratic wheel.
But Mr. Ambassador, do you think that this is a useful law? Does the president think that this is a useful law? Do you think that parents who fear for the life of a child could really be prevented from paying a ransom by law from a government that is not capable of protecting the children in the first place? Is this useful?
We practice a deliberative democracy where there's discourse, and within that framework of discourse, we eventually come up with a position. This is how democracy works, and this is what is happening in Nigeria, which is the most populous country in Africa. It's a country of 200 million people. So you cannot just take decisions by fiat.
So you're not taking a position on that. That's what I'm hearing from you. Let's look at the overall situation.
I'm allowing the process to take its course.
Okay, let's look at the overall situation. A lot of these kidnappings and violence, they're happening in the north, of course. The military there, let's look at their strategy. They're regrouping troops into super camps or garrison towns where they wait to repel the attacks rather than go on the offensive against the militants, for example, like Boko Haram, in their hideouts. Can you explain that?
Well, these are perhaps some of the techniques and the strategies employed in asymmetric warfare, which takes place in different parts of the world. Nigeria is not unique when it comes to that. You have to bear in mind that you're often taking on an invisible enemy that's continuously on the move. I'm sure we're in Germany here. I'm sure the Baader-Meinhof was taken on, using similar strategies, or the IRA, or several other insurgent groups and terrorist groups that governments have had to take on in the past. So why should Nigeria be unique?
Yeah, but the point, Mr. Ambassador, is that, we are looking at the situation specifically in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, do you admit that it has left a significant portion of the population quite exposed to this particular strategy? I mean, you have the UN, for example, saying that it's making it difficult to get internally displaced people aid. You have leading security organizations saying that these Boko Haram factions, that these affiliated, and similar groups are taking advantage of the space created by the super camp military strategy, and they're moving around more freely. They're building support. They're building their networks.
You have to bear in mind that this is a conflict that is taking place in a very difficult terrain, as I said earlier, within a very complex cross-border area where 4 African countries meet, where there are hundreds of islands due to the receding Lake Chad. So, it's not that straightforward. You can also, if you want, focus on the return of individuals that have been living in internally displaced camps to towns and villages. That is equally happening. So it's, while some might be moving to internally displaced camps, others are moving back home. So it's a very complex thing, and it's very dynamic, and it's forever changing.
The state of your military's capacity is also in question. The Senate has confirmed that massive recruitment, procurement of equipment is needed for the security forces. Resources are said to be stretched thin. So why has the government failed to even secure the best equipment for the military? I mean, the pledges from Buhari to crush these armed groups, aren't they just empty words if you don't have the resources?
We haven't been able to as much as we want, because many of the manufacturing countries would not sell it to us. We've had to contend with certain acts such as the Leahy Act and several others in countries, and the negative propaganda sometimes that is unfairly used to label the Nigerian military as committing abuses and what have you. And that is highlighted instead of the positive acts that should be associated with them.
So again, it's the fault of others. So just tell me then, because I'd like to move on to another topic.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, Mr. Ambassador, you spend less than 1% of GDP on security. So perhaps you can clarify for us, what the priority is in the country.
The priority is to address most of these issues holistically and to tackle the root cause instead of the symptoms. This is what the Nigerian government is trying to do. So some of the root causes of violence, of insecurity, happen to be poverty, a lack of effective governance at the local government level. And this is what the Nigerian government is trying to tackle. We have a social investment program. You could talk about it. It's a noble cause. You could focus on something like that.
Certainly.
So we have to make the choice whether to spend more on weapons, or whether to spend on solving the issue of poverty.
And we're going to talk about the economy.
When we want to buy the weapons, most often, we're not sold the weapons that we need.
And Mr. Ambassador, we're going to talk about the economy, I assure you, in our conversation. So we will be returning to that. But I'd just like to ask you first about the state of human rights in the country, because, you know, it's not just attacks in the north, kidnapping. You have, you know, many hotspots all over the country. And in response to some attacks blamed on separatists, for example, in the southeast, the military has launched Operation Restore Peace. Buhari said on Twitter, "We have given the police and the military the power to be ruthless." The power to be ruthless. What does that mean?
It just means what every country, every government believes, that we're living in a world that is primarily defined by nation states, sovereign nation states, and the sovereign nation states are meant to have the monopoly of violence, so that non-state actors will not unravel such countries and unleash mayhem and death and murder and massacre in such territories. This is what every country does.
But I think the concern among many is that there are these previously documented evidences of mass extrajudicial killings by securities in this region in particular. So the question is, when Buhari says ruthless, is that what he means? Extrajudicial killings? It's happened before.
That's certainly not what he means, because he has used the same phrase with regards to the violence by bandits and by terrorist activities in northeastern Nigeria, in northwestern Nigeria. It applies to the whole country. Wherever you have non-state actors, you see, there's no state. If a country, groups or individuals or powers that do not subject themselves to the jurisdiction of a nation state are allowed to dictate the course of political life in any country, that country ceases to exist.
Thank you so much for watching this video together with me. Like I said before, if you like this channel, if you like what you just watched, if you like what is happening here, please do not hesitate to subscribe. Put on your notification bell. Keep on watching God Loves You channel, because you are going to be getting information on daily basis about what is happening in the world and in Nigeria and in Biafra land. Thank you so much. I appreciate your massive support in this channel. May God Almighty continue to bless each and every one of you. Bye-bye until we meet again.